Now, at 20 years old in Holland, you had to go in the army. As you know, in Holland at that time was conscription. And that meant that from every family, the oldest son has to go in the army in the year he was going to be 20 years old. So here was little John go to the doctor, to the army doctor, get looked over if you were good enough and strong enough for soldier. So I went there, now I can, all they did to you, that is lower your pants. I looked at my rear end and blow in it, and I don't know what kind, and felt that your balls were sitting in the right place, and that was it. Here was Jan the soldier. I had to go in the army in January 1933. I had to stay there and get my education as a soldier for, I think it was 6 months, yeah, 6 months. Well, anyway, you had to, so here we went. When I came there, we were divided in sections. We made 4 sections. I was in section number 3, which existed at about 30 men, plus a corporal and a sergeant. One morning, they called us if there were any musicians under us. That means in all 4 sections. And 4 sections was a company. So I was in that company in section 3. And we stood there and they asked you if there were any musicians. Well, some guys came forward, except nobody from section 3. So my sergeant, he asked me, he said, that's a shame. He said, all sections are coming and we are behind. Is there nobody who's playing an instrument or anything? Well, nobody said anything. So I said, he said, you sir, said I thought you were such a good trumpet blower. So, well, that's the only thing I know, but I can't read a note of music. Yeah, I'm not a musician. But he said he tried anyway. So I went there, you know, with all those guys. What we had to do is, in that little room, get 2 sticks in your hand and triple around on the drum a little bit, and then we had to blow a horn. Now, well, nobody practically could blow a horn. They get some sound out of it, but nothing very particular. I thought, well, that looks pretty good for me. So I start blowing, and everybody, I blow them all out of the room. It was just a little room, you know, and I blow very hard. See, he said, okay, he said. So I was selected as what they call tambour hornblazer, which means as much as drummer and bugler. Well, the drummer and bugler in every company, there's only one drummer and bugler in a company. All he has to do is blowing singles, you know, if you're nervous and training. Certain singles have to be blown and they know what to do and all that. And in the morning, early, you had to wake them up. So that was the only disadvantage, that I had to go out a bit half an hour earlier. But I didn't mind that, it was pretty good. Although I thought about the army as a kind of a strange place, and a place I didn't like. And it turned out that, except for the food, it turned out pretty good. You get acquainted with people you never know existed. There are all kinds of young boys were there. Catholic, Reformed, Jewish, you name it, they were there. And you get a way different look at people. And in those 6 months, my attitude towards people has changed considerably. From that time I've taken people the way they are, not the way how they look or what they do or whatever. To me everybody was alright. It was really a real nice experience in my life to be in that army. After the army I went back to my old boss, but there was no work. As you know, in that time we were in the middle of the recession or whatever, malaise or whatever they call that. Anyway, nobody was working. There was no work to be found. And here I was just added to the army of people looking for work but never finding anything. It was a terrible time. But there was still food on the table because my dad was and the police force, he was not out of work. But I had a hard time with my dad because he couldn't realize that there was no work to find, you know. He was figuring that I should go out and go here and go there and ask for work, and there was no use, absolutely, but he couldn't understand that. So I had a pretty hard time with my dad in that time. Well, that lasted until about 39, when work stepping up again a little bit in 1939 in the beginning. And that was in February or March. I started working for the same outfit I was working before, Mr. Vitali. And we were working there, and you will never forget that day. It was in August, I think it was the 27th or 28th. My boss's brother came at the job, very upset and swearing and screaming. And what really happened, there was a message over the radio that the Dutch army has to be mobilized on account of Mr. Hitler entering Poland. Well, that was quite a shock. So I had to quit the job and go into the army from there on. That was in August 1939.